This shot will help you win more points and take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. And yes, I'm talking about the forehand drive.
For those of us that don't come from a racket sports background, this shot might require some practice. So we're gonna break it down and make it as simple for you as possible. For those of us that do come from a racket sports background, you might need to slightly alter some things that you're used to.
And be sure to stay to the end of this video because remember, we're giving away $1,000 worth of Selkirk store credit split evenly with 5 lucky winners. So stay to the end to figure out how to enter.
So let's get into it. So before we kind of get into the mechanics of this shot, let's talk about the goal of the drive. Now, a lot of people think when they come in here to drive the ball, the goal is just to rip a winner down the line or down the middle. And while that could be the case sometimes, more often than not, you're trying to set up the 5th ball. In other words, when I hit that drive, I'm trying to create an easier ball for me to come and drop into the kitchen. Or my other goal of this shot would be to create a pop-up or an error from my opponent. So while you may think, if you come from a different racket sports background, you may think you're trying to just rip a winner as hard as you can, when in reality, you want to give yourself a little margin of error because you're just trying to get a next ball that is more advantageous than the previous.
So now we're gonna talk about where to aim the ball. Now there's 2 places that are the most advantageous places on the court to hit a drive. Now those 2 places are gonna be one to the person that's returning the serve, that's running forward up the court. The reason why that's advantageous is because they're running, so it's really hard to hit a good counterattack if you're having to move. The second advantageous place to aim your drive is at the player who maybe just hasn't proven that they can handle pace or hit a really good counterattack to your drive.
So now we're gonna go over some of the technical tips that are gonna help you execute the drive, and we're gonna be referencing those tips in the learning progression that we do after.
So the first tip is make sure that your shoulders are relaxed and you really engage your legs because your power comes from the ground up.
Our next tip is to make sure you keep your wrist relatively firm or locked in the swing and avoid cutting under the ball. In this shot, we really want to brush the backside of the ball and swing from a low to high motion.
And the last tip has to do with your follow through. So with this, you want to keep in mind that when you're finishing your swing, that your follow through will take your arm to your opposite shoulder, and you want to make sure that the butt cap of your paddle is facing towards your target.
So now we're going to simplify the basics of the forehand drive and go through a little bit of a learning progression. So first, before we ever pick up a ball, we're gonna work on some shadow swings. So without a ball in your hand, the first thing I want you to do is to go ahead and have a slightly open stance. You can be fully open or slightly open, but just make sure you're not fully closed. Okay, so a slightly open stance here. Then I want you to take that paddle and hold it with about a 45-degree angle out from your body. Then you're gonna move that paddle right in front of that inside leg or that inside knee, and then you're gonna take the paddle up to the opposite shoulder. So again, slightly open stance, 45-degree angle, move in front of that inside knee and up to the opposite shoulder. I want you to just to repeat this motion multiple times. And so I know standing here without a ball and doing these shadow swings might feel a bit monotonous. However, if you can just practice this without a ball, you're gonna start to create muscle memory. Then we're gonna slightly add to this movement and create more dynamics with our legs and a unit turn in the progressions coming up. So the next step in this progression, after you've gotten comfortable with some shadow swings, is we're gonna add a ball. All you're gonna do in this section is drop the ball to yourself and repeat the progression from below, just hitting the ball over the net deep into the other side of the court. So right here, I've got my open stance, my 45-degree angle, and I'm gonna hit through the ball, through my contact point, up to my follow through. So it'll look like this. 45 degrees, dropping the ball, contacting it out front, and finishing again up above that outside shoulder. Once you've gotten familiar with this and it's starting to feel more natural, we're gonna move on to the next part of the progression. So in our next part of this progression, we're going to add what's called a unit turn. So when it comes to a unit turn, what I mean by that is I want my paddle, chest, and shoulders turning as a unit together, okay? So my stance can still be open here, but I'm gonna rotate my chest, paddle, and shoulders together. I still want to avoid a big backswing. I wanna keep it nice and compact, but I'm gonna focus on adding that unit turn. And when I do that, I'm gonna have a partner drop the ball for me so that my focus can shift towards incorporating this unit turn. All right, let's see how it looks. So unit turn, and I'm just gonna add right in here, unit turn, and right when I start to turn my shoulders, she can drop the ball. So again, I'm swinging low to high. I'm using my legs. This gets my core more involved as I turn that paddle, chest, and shoulders together. That's the next step of this progression. So the next part of this progression is extremely important, and I'm talking about your footwork, okay? So what we want to do here is I'm going to have somebody that's going to eventually feed me the ball. But before that, we're just going to go through some shadow swings incorporating footwork. So what it's going to look like is my partner here is either going to direct me to the right, he's going to direct me to the left, or he's going to direct me forward. I'm then going to run to that spot, establish my feet, then go through unit turn and the rest of my progression. So this is what it's going to look like. In order for him to motion me right, he's just going to move the ball to the right. All right, here we go. So as you can see there, he was moving me, and I'm just running to that spot, setting my feet, then doing my unit turn with my chest and my shoulders, then going through the rest of my progression. Then I'm gonna shuffle back to the middle, and then he's gonna move me maybe to this side. I'm gonna turn my body, and then I'm gonna get that unit turn involved, and I'm gonna continue that till I get comfortable moving around to different locations on the court. Once I'm comfortable moving around, he's gonna start feeding me the ball. So this is what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna shuffle back. Good. I'm gonna shuffle back. And I'm just going to repeat that progression over and over again. Maybe now we just focus on this side of the court. So I'm gonna come over here, shuffle back. I'm gonna run, get my feet established, do my unit turn, and then go through my progression. And then we're gonna move on to the next part of the progression. And so for the last part of this progression, I'm gonna have a partner on the opposite side of the net. So I'm gonna start more toward the middle of the court, and she's gonna go ahead and feed me to the forehand side. I'm going to again run, establish, and I'm gonna hit that drive straight forward or down the line. Then as I've gotten comfortable there, I'll move over and I'll work on driving down the middle. So go ahead and start feeding me to this side. And I'm gonna shuffle back. I'm gonna shuffle back. And again, I'm establishing my feet, using that unit turn and working on that follow through. Once I've done a couple from that side, now I'm gonna scoot to this side. I'm gonna work on driving down the middle. These feeds are coming to the middle of the court, and I'm gonna shuffle back to the sideline. Then, after you've gotten comfortable, you can go ahead and practice some things like skinny singles and just work on incorporating your drives in a game-like setting. Now we're gonna go on to a bonus part of the progression where we talk about how to add more power to your drive. So now we're gonna go through a little bonus on how to add more power after you've gotten comfortable with this progression. So what we're gonna do is we have a towel here that we folded up. We're gonna go ahead and have Danea put her right knee on the towel because she's right-handed, okay? So right knee or whatever side, if you're a lefty, you'll put your left knee down. And what she's gonna do here is she's really gonna focus on loading back with this hip, and then as she brings the paddle back, go ahead, she's gonna transfer forward, really driving this hip forward as she swings. So go ahead and do a couple shadow swings. Good, yep, good. Really working on using that core here. Okay, and once she's gotten comfortable with that, we're gonna have somebody go ahead and drop a ball. So I'm gonna drop a ball and she's gonna make contact with the ball. Nice, really use that core. Good, one more. Nice. And so this is really forcing her to use that core and to use that backside hip to generate power. And this is really gonna add power to your drive after you've really gotten comfortable with that progression. You're gonna have one of the best drives out there.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you give it a like and subscribe to the PlayPickleball.com YouTube channel. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, leave them in the comment section below.
And as we mentioned before, we're giving away $1,000 worth of Selkirk store credit, split evenly between 5 lucky winners. To enter the giveaway, you can find the link in the description below. We'll see you on the next one.